Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Orgullo Hispano. I am your host, Hector Sabido, and I'm very excited to introduce our guest for today. But before we do that, I do want to thank our sponsor, the Office of External Affairs from Baylor University, for being so gracious and sponsoring our podcast, Orgullo Hispano. It's a podcast by the Hispanic Leaders Network, and it is because their gracious contribution, like that of Baylor University's, that this podcast is made available to all of you. So thank you so much. But I would like to introduce our guests for today. It is Anecito and Vivian Charles, the proud owners of one of my favorite restaurants, TruJamacia. Anecito, Vivian, thank you so much for being here today. We truly appreciate you taking time out. I know you're super swamped right now, but taking time out to be here and chatting with us a little bit.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Of course, it's an honor to see you. And you know, I think a lot of people see Anecito in the community, but we really see the beauty and the brains behind the brand, right?
Yes, I'll take that.
I will give that to my mother all the time.
Thank you.
Yes.
So just to give our audience a little bit of introduction of who you are, tell us a little bit about yourselves and where you're from, if you don't mind sharing.
Okay, well, we have been on this adventure for a little bit. My husband passed away after both of us thought, you know what? Let's go on another adventure. Northern Virginia has grown and blossomed and flourished. Our kids are grown. How about we seek another place that's small and upcoming?
Okay.
And with divine guidance, we landed on Waco.
So why Waco though?
Well, you know what? Actually, yes. I was always a HGTV watcher. I loved home decor. And of course, yes, Chip and Joanna in Waco. But it was truly divine guidance that spoke to me and said, this is the place that your family should go and start again.
Wow. Now, if you don't mind me asking, Mrs. Charles, where is home originally?
Jamaica.
Yes,
Manchester, Jamaica, way up in the hills.
Okay.
Nowhere close to Kingston.
And so Jamaica's home, and then from there, Virginia, and now Waco.
Yes.
And so, Anecito, with the transition, because I know you've also, have moved over here from the East Coast. How has the transition been for you, moving from a place that's so heavily populated to, while Waco's growing, it's still not a metropolitan area. So,
yeah.
Well, the transition has been smooth for me.
Okay.
So I've worked as a database or a software specialist for a long time. So I work from home. So I would see a lot of traffic if I had to go to a client site, but the transition here is very peaceful. There, you can get from one side of town to the other side of town 5-10 minutes.
Right.
And I'll tell you right now, I'm very thankful. But
that's including stoplights and stop signs, right?
Yeah. I might have a lead foot too, but no, honestly, it's been very welcoming. All the people here, like as soon as they, you start talking to them, and they're like, "Well, your name is different," or you sound, different, and everybody's just welcoming, so they ask you, "What's your story?" So I get that pretty often, but I've been here 4.5 years now. Wow. And they still ask me the same thing.
Right.
So, but I'm very thankful.
So, it's funny you say you've been here 4.5 years, because the first time I met you was probably 4 years ago. You were going through a course that was provided by City Center Waco at the time, WeBo. Yeah. And I remember when I first met you, I had the privilege of speaking to the class a few times. And I remember the first time I met you, and you part of the class was really working with local entrepreneurs and local entrepreneurs of color to really just give them that foundation of what it is to run a business, and what it's anything from marketing to accounting to sales to legal paperwork, et cetera, things like that. So WeBo was very, I would say, instrumental in a lot of our entrepreneurs here, especially entrepreneurs of color, that really just gave them that foundation of what to expect when running a business. Because I think a lot of times people jump into it not really knowing what all it entails. And so WeBo did that. But I heard your story when you were doing your pitch, as they called it, and you were the proud owner even then of TruJamacia. And I thought, what an awesome concept. We don't have anything like that here in Central Texas. And so I was very excited to hear. So not that anyone doesn't know, but tell us a little bit about how the concept of TruJamacia came about, and then what people expect when they go into True Jamaica?
So, my mother probably could tell it better, but we've always had a passion for food and eating and, really connecting at the dinner table. So my family, we would eat together very often. I'm talking about, okay, you had tennis practice. Okay, we're going to eat. Okay, it's Sunday dinner. We're going to eat.
Yes.
It's somebody's birthday. We're going to eat.
That's right.
And it's, food really does connect people.
Correct.
And in our family, we always cook. So we cook Venezuelan food, we cook Jamaican food, we cook a lot of things. But really, it really bonds the family a lot because it's like, hey, what's going on in your day? How was, how's school? You get all of that.
Absolutely.
Now, through that, my mother and father, they are exceptional cooks. God bless the rest of my father's soul. But he cooked everything, and so did my mother. They actually love to cook. So in my sense, I love to see people eat. I like to see the response and the enjoyment of it. My mother and father do too.
Sure.
But the art of cooking, my mother and father, they love to cook.
That's amazing.
And my mother will probably say that as she's gotten, she's gracefully matured, she's gotten more of a love to cook than when she first started. Because my father, my father used to do a lot of cooking. My mother cooked, but she was running her business.
Sure.
And my father would come home and he would do a lot of cooking.
He would do the dinner for everybody.
Yeah. So it was a good mix, but very thankful. Now in Waco, the experience is, how do you say? Venezuelans, Jamaicans, very warm, very jovial, very lighthearted, very spirited. When you come to True Jamaica, as soon as you hit the door, welcome to True Jamaica.
Yes, absolutely.
And the thing is, I think that service, smiling, salutations, those things are so important, and it's appreciated. And I want people to feel like, okay, you're coming into my house.
Right.
As soon as somebody comes to your house, you're going to say hello to them and
Exactly.
you're going to greet them. You might offer them some water or
there
something.
You go.
And I want
a place to sit and something.
Exactly. So I want that same feel.
Yes.
What I'll say is that there's a good amount of people that have been to Jamaica. They've either traveled, got married, honeymooned, done missions in Jamaica. So a lot of people are like, hey, I was in Jamaica, so we get the stories, and I get that whole connection where I get to talk to people. And I think a lot of people that really resonate with True Jamaica, once they're in there and they keep coming back, they will say, you know what? We get that personal touch.
Right.
And that's really what we want. We want people, obviously, to enjoy great food.
Sure.
But we want them to feel welcome, like, hey, you know what? I feel like I can go there anytime, and I feel welcome. The music, the ambiance, the light. The music's not too loud. It's playing chill Jamaican ska vibes. And we also play reggae in Spanish. So it's, some people, like, I have some people that come in and they're like, oh. Yeah. So, but I think it's just the welcoming.
All right.
That's really important to us.
Well, and go ahead. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
No. But I was going to go a little more to your point or your question. True Jamaica really started in Northern Virginia.
Okay.
It wasn't called True Jamaica.
Okay.
But when we moved to Virginia, we just kept saying, wow, there's no Jamaican restaurant in Northern Virginia, in Woodbridge in particular. We just, me and my husband, we'd always, because he loves his Venezuelan food. He used to love his Venezuelan. But for some reason, he had really dived into my Jamaican food. Okay, so we were always like, wow, we have to go to D.C. if we don't feel like cooking. And we talked about this for years. And then came the impetus. We just jumped in. A place was available. We signed a lease and we jumped in. Caribbean Carryout, which is still open with another Jamaican family we sold it to. But that's where True Jamaica really, because when we started True Jamaica here, we had that knowledge that we had gained.
Yes, ma'am.
So it really helped.
That's amazing.
And my son, Anecito, really, all his skills, which are many, and I am so thankful, were really put to work in landing in a new community, connecting with people, working on a building, bringing it to fruition, and finally opening the doors.
Correct.
So, yes, this started long ago, all the learning
That's
lessons.
amazing.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And, and also like to see, I think, well, I can see, so, I've been to TruJamaica a few times, and it really is that warm welcome invite where you come in, you're greeted, the atmosphere is wonderful. You sit down with people that you're having a great lunch with and just have great conversations. And it reminds me a lot also of the Hispanic culture as well, which is a big draw, I think, as well, because there are a lot of similarities between our cultures. But even so, your dad, Anecito, who is Venezuelan, and you, ma'am, being Jamaican, Anecito, carrying the best of both beautiful cultures, that I like to say. But even so, how was it growing up being, if you don't mind me asking, a biracial young man on the East Coast? How was that experience like?
So my father, we didn't learn Spanish at home. So we kind of learned it through cousins, friends, and travels. And because you speak it a little bit, right?
Yeah, and a lot.
He speaks it a lot.
Yeah, my kids are fluent.
I love it.
Yeah, but I think, initially my father was a little nervous, like, hey, I don't want my kids to be held back. And
Understandable.
So on and so forth. But we ended up learning it, so we did speak it with him before he went home. But what I would say is, in Virginia and, DMV or DC, Maryland, Virginia, there's a good amount of Latinos, whether they be from El Salvador, whether they be from Mexico, but there's a good amount of dark Latinos. So, sometimes the question is different.
Right.
Like in Texas here, when I talk to Mexicans, some of them, they're really, they're excited that I speak Spanish.
Sure.
But when I talk to Mexicans that are on the East Coast, they're like, oh, yeah.
It's expected out of you.
It's kind of expected. Your name's Anecito. Yeah, you should be, because sometimes here, are you Greek or are you Brazilian? And, because of my first name.
Sure.
So, but the thing that I would say is that it's, as soon as you open your mouth and speak Spanish, everybody's always welcoming.
Right.
But on the East Coast, it's not even a thought. It's like, okay, you might be Dominican.
Right.
There's a good amount of dark.
Sure.
And I think that, just to really wrap it up, it was always like, the Puerto Ricans, they always want to cook. Like we all have this, the rice and beans, arroz con habichuela, and so on and so forth. There was so many ties. So Venezuelans do plantains, Jamaicans do plantains, Venezuelans do rice and beans, Jamaicans do the same thing. Then also Jamaicans do black beans, a little sugar.
I love black beans.
Yeah, so it's like, it's this there's so many similarities, but the food really tied it together because, like, your neighbor is Mexican. Well, they don't eat Venezuelan food, but you know what? We make hallacas, you guys make tamales, and we kind of share, very similar. There's so many things, and a lot of times the kids will be excited to try food that's outside of their culture, and we would share.
Right.
So those bonds were formed that way, but everybody seemed to be very welcoming.
I love that. So thank you for sharing that, Anecito. I think it's wonderful to hear like just the similarities in cultures, and I think even as Latinos, I said sometimes we had an event during Black History Month where we highlighted Afro-Latinos, that our culture is so wide and vast that it just doesn't cover one skin tone or one language or one eye color or one hair color, but it encompasses so many people that that our culture is very, very similar.
So, I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think when you're in Venezuela, when you're in Puerto Rico, they don't really, most of South America that has dark skinned people, they don't think like that.
Right.
Because it will say, you call it somebody white, negro. We don't think twice like, oh, we're really calling you black. It's just a nickname. But I guess for me, in my growing up, mine is a little bit more special in the sense that after I got to be an adult, I was doing concerts. So I did a lot of Latin concerts, you know, like Oscar de Leon. I've done maybe 200 concerts in my history. Eddie Santiago. I've done, who else?
You're making me go down memory lane now. And he said,
well, that, you know, I felt bad because you text me and I didn't even text you where to go when you're out there. And they actually had a couple concerts out there.
Wow.
Yeah, they had Willie Colon and some other people out there.
Amazing.
But, you know, like when you look at music, it's kind of like food. You know? You remember that song. You remember the taste of the food.
Yes.
There's a connection.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I always loved music. And well, obviously, I love food. You know, mi panza. But,
same, brother. Same.
Yeah, we're all working on it. But no, I really enjoyed my growing up because like I got to learn so much of culture, and I got to mix culture, and I really, you know, some people they just live it and they don't really enjoy it. You know, the experience is like, oh, you know, hey, but like, you know, it's like being in the kitchen and not knowing how to cook something that you've eaten so many times. Right. You're just living it, but you're not really
enjoying it.
Exactly. So yeah, because like, you know, I can go home and make some cachapas and arepas and do it. I can go home and make some jerk chicken, some curry goat. You know, I can do that. You know, it's something that I want my kids to experience and want them to learn as they grow.
Sure. Yeah. Now, if you don't mind, so we're going to go back to TruJamacia a little bit because a couple of months ago there was an incident that really, I would assume, let me put it this way, it was probably scary and chaotic. And so if you don't mind, talk a little bit about the incident that happened at TruJamacia with the fire and everything.
Well, yes. You know, life does have ups and downs.
Yes, ma'am.
For everyone.
You're absolutely correct.
So it was like a regular day. We still, when we can, stay in tune with the community. So that evening, I had gone to a community meeting, East Waco community meeting, and Anecito and the crew had finished up. He came in late to the meeting, and then the meeting was over. We all went home, and he called me maybe after 1, saying there's a fire department called him. I didn't think anything. My mind usually doesn't run to the negative. I just thought, I don't know, maybe I don't know.
Sure.
But got there and there was a real fire.
Wow.
You know what? Use the word chaotic, and I've found that in our walk with the Lord, it's like it wasn't chaotic, but I think we all kind of just took a deep breath.
Sure.
You know, and was like, okay, this is happening. But even the firefighters were like somehow trying to put us at ease. They were showing us and telling us they're doing their best to make sure everything is fully out. Just telling us about the temperature and that it's coming down and it'll be done, and saying that, okay, we can all leave. They're ready to leave, so we can all close up and go home. And then the phone started ringing in the morning and early, and community leaders and neighbors and business people started to call. And as a family, we just kind of went home and said, we're going to trust God.
Yes, ma'am.
There's nothing else.
What else can you do, right?
Exactly. So as much as it was like, wow, we were like, there wasn't time to linger in, oh my goodness, because right away people started reaching out to us. So right away we had to be like, okay, thank you, Lord. Already you're showing us opportunities in the midst of all of this. Yeah.
And it's really awesome. I think I've seen it. We've all seen like how the community has rallied around you and said, hey, put me in, coach. What can I do to help?
Oh, yeah.
What has that response been like for you?
Wow. It's tremendous. And
amazing.
It's a humbling thing when people want to give you their time you know, because time is fleeting and you can never get it back.
Yes, sir.
And people have contributed not only their time, but their restaurants, their money, so many different prayers. Like people, you know, they see me in grocery stores, see me all about, hey, can we pray with you?
That's amazing.
And it's
even at the food truck. I remember one afternoon, a gentleman, I think Anecito was at the window taking orders, and then for a minute, things kind of slowed down for a second, and the gentleman was praying.
That's amazing. Yeah. I love to hear that.
Waco is a tremendous community, and you know, when people move here, once they get here, they'll understand that this community is really very tight knit.
You know, and I think it goes to show, Mrs. Charles, when you said earlier that it was really spirit led that you came to Waco and you started your business. An unfortunate incident has happened, but God has still taken care of you.
Yes.
And for you to say, we're just going to trust God, I think that shows your courage, your strength, your foundation in Christ. And I have to applaud you publicly for that, because I think you are an example to many of us on this walk that sometimes our faith gets shaky.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
But to hear you say that, in spite of that you know that God has taken care of you, that's amazing. So thank you for that.
Oh, no, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now you guys are in the reconstruction phase. And so
not,
okay,
but
okay,
yeah, we're getting there.
So you guys are what are the plans going forward now? If it's okay to ask that.
So right now we're kind of still waiting on the insurance. So the insurance is giving us an update that, you know, by the end of this week that we should have a firm word that this is what's going to happen. So you know, we're covered. We have really good insurance. Mm-hmm. So we're not saying that. It's just sometimes we don't have patience, and sometimes,
yes, sir.
You know, it's like
I hear you on that.
But we're definitely rebuilding where we are. God has blessed us with the building and the land around us. So when you drive by, you'll see the bricks look good, but when you look at the soffits and you look at the vents and everything, and you'll see the blackness from the charcoaling and everything there. But we're gonna rebuild right there. It's gonna be better and back hopefully soon.
I love it.
So, you know, we just ask people to continue to pray and, you know, just keep an eye out on our social media. And if they're so inclined, we still have our GoFundMe up because, you know, we're still paying for all of our staff and everything. Sure. That way, when we open up, you know, let's be honest, sometimes it's hard to find a job, and people that we have, we were thankful that they're with us because God's blessed us with them and their time. So we're trying to, you know, do right by them. And when we get back, we'll have a good staff that's already trained and ready to go. And they've gone through the whole walk with us. So we're just praying that everything goes smoothly.
But are you still doing catering events, or you still have a mobile location, correct?
So we've been blessed. DeComple's, Massimo from DeComple's, he's graciously loaned us his food truck for as long as we'd like. And we're at Baylor campus through the semester. So Baylor and Airmark have given us the go to be at the right next to the fountain, water fountain, and kids can come and eat anytime. We're really there Monday through Friday from 10:30 to 3:30 minus spring break. But so we're doing catering. Like we've done Baylor Law School, we've done Baylor basketball, we've done a number of recruiting events, and we do for Waco Family Medicine too. They've always been a big supporter of us as well. And you know, we're going to be doing a disc golf celebration this weekend. You know, so we're you know, we've always been into the catering because like God's blessed us with a network. So
that's amazing. So business is still continuing.
Yeah. It's not the same, but you know, it's still continuing.
Yes. But speaking of the GoFundMe, where can people find that link to help?
Well, it's on our website, and we do have it. But pretty much, if you just put GoFundMe and TruJamacia in Google, it'll pop up. And you know, we're about halfway there, and we're very thankful. But we're still working on it. So you know,
I love it.
But if people are so inclined, we're very thankful. But always welcome prayers.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
When if you would also, when you guys decide, when you can open again and you're ready to go, please let us know.
Yes.
So we can help get the word out as well,
Yes,
not
we
only
appreciate
through the Hispanic Leaders Network, but all through the social medias that we have, but also the power of our radio station, so we could help with that. So we would love to help however possible. Please know that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank
We
you.
will
Absolutely.
definitely keep you posted. Yes, thank you.
And so thank you once again for joining us today. It has truly been a treat to have you both. Anecito, you know, I've known you for years and I think the world of you, but ma'am, you are
Thank you.
you are a role model for many, if I may say so
thank you,
myself.
thank
And so
you,
thank you
thank
so much for taking time out. I know you're still busy working tirelessly, but I do appreciate you taking time out. And please know that we will support you, and anything we can do to help you rebuild, please let us know, because we want to do our part as well.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
Absolutely. And thank you
Thank
to
you.
all of our listeners out there, all of our viewers. Once again, thank you to Baylor University, the Office of External Affairs, for being our gracious sponsor for this episode. And please make sure you tune in for more episodes of Orgullo Hispano as we continue to highlight great people in our community that are doing wonderful things. Until next time, take care.
This episode of Orgullo Hispano was made possible through the generosity of these sponsors. The Hispanic Leaders Network is a nonprofit 501c3 organization. Our vision is to develop and empower current and future leaders to make a difference in the community. To sponsor a future Orgullo Hispano podcast episode, visit our website at www.hln-waco.org or email us at hlnwaco@hln-waco.org.